The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is May 16th, 2018. This week, Magitech and cannibal robots. My name is Basil.
And this is Gonz. This is the podcast where we talk about news with biblical views from the alternative Christian community. And we are back.
That's right. We are back. I have an elderly cat on my lap. And Gonz, you got some stuff going on. You recently hit 200,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah. But,
congratulations.
Thanks. And I appreciate all
Do you get a prize?
I don't think so. I think the milestone is 100,000, and then I think the next one's 1 million. I'm not sure.
Oh, yikes.
But, I'm not quite there yet. But thank you to all the people who have subscribed and have followed, and the bots
and if you're
as well.
Not the bots, if you're not yet following Gonz on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Go to YouTube, search Face Like the Sun. He's got all sorts of great stuff there. And
thanks for the plug, buddy.
You bet. And on top of that, you redid your studio closet there.
Yeah, I ripped out my studio closet because it was I don't know if listeners could really tell, but the baby was able to change the dials quite a bit, quite often. So every time I would sit down to record, it was like a half hour to an hour of me going, "How does it sound now? Test."
Yeah.
And so we had to fix things
where I
here.
basically just have to flip a switch. You had to like solve some pretty important problems every time we sat down. It was a big hindrance on the workflow, I'd say.
Yeah. So
but you got a clean closet. You're all good. A lot of crazy stuff going on. Some stuff that I'm just so excited to get to. Obviously, just real quick, we want to give a little shout out to our Hawaiian listeners. You got a lot of heat over there. We're all praying for you, and hope. I haven't heard of anybody emailing us telling them that they were in any danger in particular. But if, anyways, we got you in our prayers, people.
We mention it because of the fact that it's not really talked about in, the mainstream, and it's kind of it's part of our country, but it's sort of gone under the radar. So just to mention,
there you go.
And prayers out to them.
Yeah, we got to make sure our Hawaiian peeps are cool. Gonz, okay. Since we're still kind of in the intro time here, I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk about your own crazy experiences going on right now.
Right.
So a lot of people have seen your posts, they've seen your videos. You're kind of hot on the trail on something. What's going on over there?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So basically, yesterday in Aliso Viejo, there was an explosion in a building, and I think it killed 1 woman and injured 3. And I came home from an errand, and I saw a bunch of helicopters in the sky there, and they were all just kind of hovering there. So I thought maybe a chase or something going on. I live next to a freeway.
Yeah, you sent me the picture. I'm sure you posted it, but I mean, we're talking like 6 or 7 helicopters, all in one little area.
Yeah, and it wasn't like it wasn't news. You can usually tell when they're news choppers. Yeah, but that's not what it was. It was definitely either military or they were unlabeled, so you couldn't really tell what was going on. But so that, I come home to that, and then I realized that this explosion thing happened very, very close to where I live, very creepily close. And I'll get into some of the details and stuff in the extended report with some of the nitty gritty of
You've got a whole thing going on. So if you want to hear Gonz's adventures in explosions and ziggurats and latitudinal lines and black helicopters, you can go over to patreon.com, sign up to receive our extended reports. We're going to be talking about that, as well as the multiverse, as well as all sorts of stuff in the extended report. So many of you have already done that, but if you have not yet done it, a great way to get more Canary Cry news talk in your life, head over to patreon.com/CCNT. Okay, now let's get into the show here. We got some fun stuff. I'll start this first one out.
Okay.
What do you say to that? Okay. Okay, this is an article on quartz.com, qz.com. The headline reads, Google's engineers say that, quote, magic spells are ruining AI research. They've finally done it, Gons. They finally started connecting the dots without us, if you could believe it. The article reads, this week at the Google I/O Developers Conference, there was a consistent message about Google's AI from a cast of Google executives. Our AI will not be evil. Okay.
I'm down with that. I'm okay with that.
Whatever you say, guys. In this keynote, CEO Sundar Pichai said of AI, quote, we feel a deep sense of responsibility to get these things right. In a recent letter to shareholders, the president of its parent company, Sergey Brin, said similarly, quote, I expect machine learning technology to continue to evolve rapidly and for Alphabet to continue to be a leader in both the technological and ethical evolution of the field.
Ethical evolution?
Ethical evolution.
What does that mean?
There are a whole host of issues with, quote, responsible AI, ethics, bias, fairness, and algorithmic transparency are some. I like how ethics, bias, and fairness are all, fairly human traits. Yeah. And then algorithmic transparency. But recently, one Google engineer raised perhaps the most fundamental point, the standard of scientific rigor in the development of AI. In a recent article in Science that covered proceedings at the International Conference on Learning Representations in Vancouver, Google AI researcher Ali Rahimi was quoted saying, quote, there's anguish in the field. Many of us feel like we're operating on alien technology. Whoa. Rahimi is very concerned that the, quote, entire field has become a black box. What a scary situation that would be.
What are you saying, dude?
He's okay. This is a good article, actually. They do a good job of explaining it without us meandering on. So let me get a couple more paragraphs in. Okay. Rahimi co-authored a paper that says that knowledge, nominally the goal of scientific research, is currently in second place to, quote, wins. The practice of beating a benchmark as a way to getting recognized in the AI community. The authors go on to highlight how this may be skewing the true nature of progress in AI and contributing to wasted effort and suboptimal performance. For examples, researchers showed how stripping bells and whistles from a translation algorithm made it work better, which highlighted how its creators didn't know which parts of the AI were doing what. It's not uncommon for the core of an AI to be technically flawed. Other people at Alphabet seem to agree. Oh, this guy, whose name I'm not even going to try, a computer scientist at its, I'll give him credit here. Xaba Zeparsvari, a computer scientist. I'm sorry, Xaba. I can't do it. A computer scientist at its Go-winning DeepMind subsidiary in London told Science that competitive testing has gone too far. A paper is more likely to be published if the reported algorithm beats some benchmark than if the paper sheds light on the software's inner workings, he said. Similarly, Francois Cholet, a computer scientist at Google in California, told the magazine that people rely on folklore and magic spells, referring to how AI engineers adopt pet methods to tune their AIs. So basically what's going on is in AI research, the research that is defining the future of human technology and the way we are going to navigate this world and society, not just in the future, not just in the very near future, but I'm talking like day by day, week by week, artificial intelligence is increasingly wedging its way into our daily lives. They don't know how it works in its innermost workings. It is described by top of the field AI researchers as a black box. And not only do they not fully understand what's happening inside these little packets of code, they don't want to know. They're not trying to figure it out. They're doing as little work possible in order to gain positive results, like practical results. Right. Then actually giving energy to understanding the mechanism by which these things are happening. Comparing coders to relying on folklore and magic spells, just sort of doing a thing in hopes that a thing happens. This is crazy. And we're basing the future of our society on this.
Well, we've said from the beginning that this whole thing is tied to occultism and the esoteric message, and so here you go.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's literal like magic spells involved. I mean, I know we've kind of alluded to that in the past, and certainly there are objective connections to draw between, practical magic or the occult to certain aspects of AI, especially in the light of biblical prophecy. Whoa, you got a dog going crazy over there, man. I mean, those connections have been clear for a while, but I mean, now they're just kind of putting it out there. Now, I'm not saying this guy was speaking literally when he did this. I'm not here to be an alarmist saying, oh, he said it, they're using magic. But I think the principles that we have drawn that connect these types of explorations into AI, I think there is a very close correlation, even if in the most theoretical of senses. I'm not here to say that Alexa is a little witch living in your house. Again, like I said, I got 2 of them in the box, shrink wrapped, right here on my desk, just to remind me.
You have little mummified AI in your house.
I have 2 little AI mummies.
Yeah, you know what this is too is it's really what materialist scientific kind of reductionist philosophy has done is really to extract the practical. And not really necessarily having to understand all the nuances, because, you find that even in the academic field, they're running out of space. Materialism is running out of language to use to describe what's going on. So it's interesting how they have landed in a spot where the only words that can really describe what's happening is alien technology, black box, folklore, and magic spells.
Yeah, that's the professionals in the field are using those words to describe the science that they've devoted their lives to.
So so linguistically this is happening, even if, practically it may not be what it is, it may not be alien technology, quote unquote, but the fact that they don't understand.
We're also saying it's not. We're also not saying it's not alien technology.
But, you've alluded to that in the past, so we understand the theory is there.
But I mean, when it's coming out of their own mouths, what are you going to do?
Well, yeah.
All right, let's finish this up. We're almost here to 15 minutes. The author suggests a range of fixes, all focused on learning which algorithms work best, when, and why. That doesn't seem like it should be a fix. That seems like it should be a core principle of your science.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They include deleting parts of an algorithm and seeing what works best, what breaks, reporting the performance of an algorithm. Science, you should do that. You should do science on the science that you're doing. Performance of an algorithm across different dimensions so that, oh gosh, don't even get me started on different dimensions, so that performance improvements in one area don't mask a drop in another. And oh my gosh, here's a good one.
Yep.
And quote, sanity checks. Ooh. Where an algorithm is tested on counterfactual. We need to test if our AI is sane. Where an algorithm is tested on counterfactual or alternative data.
They're not even conscious, but we have to check if they're sane. What are we doing? What is going on? Come on, folks. Hey, Google. You guys have so much money and power and data. What the heck are you guys doing over there?
Hey, they got to make sure the robots are sane, man. They got to make sure they're magical alien.
You know, I don't even blame Google anymore. I blame the what are they? The shareholders. Those are the true magicians over there, probably trying to get Google.
That's actually a very good point. You know, because all the skipping of scientific rigor is due to
demand. It's the demand of the shareholders.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly right. So, yeah, which is kind of a good allegory or literal situation as far as, you know, the world as a whole being kind of controlled by elites who don't necessarily... I mean, the practical ends are more important than the means or even understanding the means. But,
right. Yeah.
Well, more about that later. To end the article, as awareness grows around AI's impact on our society and as the tech giants continue to concentrate AI capability within their walls, there is as much need to maintain transparency and accountability around the creation of AI as there is around the use of it. So there you go. And that transparency doesn't even really exist for themselves within their own tribe, it looks. So there you go, man. Alien technology, black box, folklore, and magic. That's what's in that little Alexa pod. That's what's in the little handheld Black Mirror you're carrying around. Speaking of the beast system, Gons.
Wired.com.
What could be worse? What could be worse than this?
Wired.com. Military researchers develop corpse-eating robots.
Oh, yay!
From the file marked, quote, evidently many scientists have never seen one scary sci-fi movie. The Defense Department is funding research into battlefield robots that power themselves by eating human corpses. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, gosh.
Since they apparently don't own TVs or DVD players, researchers at Robotic Technology say the robots will collect organic matter, which could include human corpses, to use for fuel. If you picked up anything on flesh-eating robots over the years, you know they'll ignore that tasty soybean field and make a chow line right to the nearest dead body. And if the machines can't find enough dead people to eat, they can always make new ones. Researchers seem to get a kick out of ensuring the demise of the human species. So the project is called the Energetically Autonomous Tactical Robot, or EATER. Wired.com readers looking to save time and trouble are invited to begin marinating themselves in a mix of 10W30 and Heinz 57 sauce immediately.
Very funny. This is a very creative article.
Funny guy
written by John Scott Lewinsky here. But I think the words that he uses they're what we're all feeling. He's just saying it.
He's saying it, yeah.
Now, did you have a secondary? Okay, you did.
I did.
You did.
So when you go to the robotictechnologyinc.com, which is the company that's developing this, and they have a little blurb about EATER, and I found some interesting little quotes here. The purpose of the Energetically Autonomous Tactical Robot, or EATER, the patent is pending, is to develop and demonstrate an autonomous robotic platform able to perform long-range, long-endurance missions without the need for manual or conventional refueling, which would otherwise preclude the ability of the robot to perform such missions. The system obtains its energy by foraging, engaging in biologically inspired organisms like energy harvesting behavior, which is equivalent of eating. It can find, ingest, and extract energy from biomass in the environment and other organically based energy sources, like human bodies, as well as use conventional and alternative fuels, such as gasoline, heavy fuels, kerosene, diesel, propane, coal, cooking oil, and solar when suitable.
This is probably the most terrifying thing I've ever heard. I'm just gonna open with that. When we've seen robot movies, I mean Terminator, really any killer robot movie, it's kind of, there's an assumption where, the robot is, fueled by some sort of, internal perpetual energy device, maybe a cold fusion generator or something like that. Or, maybe they have to go back to the mothership to charge or something. It's always kind of a tactical advantage, the fact that the robots have to have fuel somehow, and then that gives us an opportunity to defeat them. Well, now, these robots have the ability to just eat. Now, I read in another article that was a little bit less inflammatory that right now the robots are able to forage organic material, eating things like sticks and leaves, and there's some sort of thermal.
Kind of gnarly if you think about it.
It's still crazy. That's not any less weird. Like, I'm trying to not be so inflammatory. It's exceptional is what it is. It's an exceptional piece of progress for robotics, albeit definitely terrifying, because these robots, as they stand now, can go pick up twigs and leaves, and I think there's some sort of thermal deal where they burn in a chamber inside the robot, and it turns into electricity, that type of thing. But to have robots that, take away the fact that, let's just pretend that we can control them forever. And we can send them on these, long expeditions where they don't need any support from, our whatever system we have set up, whether it's a military, refueling system or recharging system or whatever. Now these things can be totally autonomous, refuel whenever they want on whatever they can find. The whole eating a human body thing, that kind of came out of a reporter asking specifically, like, is that possible? And the answer is yes, it is possible. They could ingest a human body and turn that into fuel for them. That's not necessarily their stated purpose, but hey, one of these suckers goes rogue and, their AI algorithm, of which apparently we have no idea what's going on inside of, decides that a human body is a more efficient fuel source than sticks and twigs. Imagine that. Sorry, vegetarians. Then hey, who knows what's going on in that black box, that magical alien technology folklore black box. Yeah.
Little robot. And, the eater here, it says that they're going to have a heavy duty robotic arm and a hybrid external combustion engine. And they're saying that it's going to be useful for, military units and combat units and stuff. They can carry their backpacks and other materials, the mule function. They can provide RSTA, weapons support, casualty extraction, transport, provide energy to recharge the unit's batteries. So, obviously, if you're in the battlefield, it's better to have a robot, carry something across or carry you across, with the bulletproof whatever. And, but again, if it's deployed to the populace, what use does it have? Some guy can easily be like, "Oh, I'm going to use the robot to break into a bank," and
Okay, here's my gamer update here for all my gamer. I'm glad I kind of recently have been coming out a little bit more with my
gamer obsession.
Yeah, well, and to be honest, recently I've been gaming more than I have in the past. But there's a game called, let's see if I can remember, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah,
which is so it's kind of like a
I played some of that. Remember? You convinced me to get the game, and I played some of it.
It was very cool. I stopped playing it. I didn't play it through. I didn't make it very far. Yeah. It's kind of repetitive, but that's for our gaming podcast where we review games. Anyway, so this is kind of a far-flung future. There's been some apocalyptic things, and human beings are now back to sort of a caveman tribal stage.
Right.
But there's robots and but they're dinosaurs and horses and all the animals are robot animals, and they sort of feed off of the land. And I think probably inspired by this project. And I could just imagine a far-flung post-apocalyptic future where not only do we have to watch out for mutants and bands of marauders, but also robots who are scouring the landscape for organic material just in order to continue main survival protocol function. must extract organic material. I mean, that could become a real threat. Obviously, we're having fun with this, but wow.
It's true. And we would have to quarantine an area where these, robot animals are running rampant and basically let them die.
Oh, good luck. Good luck on that, mister. Once those suckers run out of grass and twigs to eat, they're going to be looking up at whatever guard tower you have.
Oh, great.
Engage black box protocol.
On top of the ziggurat.
Your guard ziggurat.
It's all over, folks.
Yep. Yes, it is. Anyways, one other thing, and I'm not a gearhead necessarily. I have no real knowledge of engines and things, but this mentions a hybrid external combustion engine.
Yeah.
I know what an internal combustion engine is. I do not know what an external combustion engine is. It sounds really dangerous.
Yeah. Probably not something that they would want to have for civilians, but they do mention that that is a stage that they would like to get to, is part 3 of their development stage.
Yeah, I'll have to, maybe a listener can elucidate me as to what that is. All right. I'm going to start landing the plane a little bit early because we've got some fun stuff. Patreon supporters, thank you so much. We're going to be recording an extended report literally right after this. If you guys want to hear more Canary Cry News Talk, we're going to be talking about aliens in the multiverse. Gons, you're going to be giving your experience with this explosion by your house with the helicopters and a ziggurat and and
sounds like a science fiction movie.
A lot of numerology and latitudes and longitudes, but I'm excited to hear your sort of rundown on that. So if you guys are interested in hearing any of that, or just simply want to support this show to keep it going, I mean, that's a huge part of it's really this show keeps going because of you guys and the support that we get from our Patreon. We're almost at 100 supporters. That's amazing. So if you want to join the crowd over there, we've got a bunch of fun rewards. We've got the extended reports. We've got the 24/7 chat channel. We've got all sorts of fun stuff. Go check it out, patreon.com/CCNT. But if you don't want to support the show financially, hey, don't turn off that podcast quite yet, because we need you to go out there and rattle some cages.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Rattle some cages.
Was that the public debut of our Rattle the Cage jingle?
I think so.
Yay!
Yep.
Congratulations, you all got to experience that. Sorry, Mom, for using Homer Simpson. But there you go. Go out there, rattle a few cages, tell somebody about the podcast, bring up one of these conversations that we've talked about. That's how this works, man. This is a grassroots type of deal. Go out there, have the conversations, tell people about the podcast. If they want to learn more, go ahead and do that. But thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next week. But until you do, think outside the cage.